But of course, there are different ways to work with it. I don't mean, so the way that I teach it is a bit, what's that word? It's not called controversial, but it's a very deep journey, but a very challenging journey. Just like, I like to say, example, we have mindfulness, right? If I feel a certain way, there are certain ways to work with it. And I agree, mindfulness is a great technique. But, maybe I'm not understanding mindfulness deep enough, which is also fine. But I feel like you don't quite arrive at the root of the problem. You don't quite understand, why I feel a certain way. So the way that I work with people, or the people who come to me, is we go into the emotion, we drop into the emotion, we express it, we let it out because it's in our body, it needs a voice, it needs to be moved up. And once we've done that, we have space inside. It's just like, a cup, right? You got a lot of dirty stuff. Your emotion, you just stuff it, you don't express it, it's gonna load up. You need to chuck it out, and you need to then decide, okay, what do I want in my life? So we go through that process. So I tell you, it's painful because you really go into the emotion and you feel it. But once you have that, you have space to decide what is it that I want. So it's really about knowing, why am I feeling angry? What is it trying to tell me? And it's a lot of painful stuff, because, in the early journey, I can share, it's a lot of anger towards outside of me. My family. And I love, I'm a counselor by training, and I always like to mix the trauma and family. There's so much stuff in the family we need to work on. There's a lot of anger in my family, my parents. But the hard truth is, at the end of the day, you come to realize that the person you're angry is really with yourself. Because
so in the end, you think you're angry with others, but actually you're angry with yourself?
Initially, when you're in the process, starting the process, you have a lot of anger. The anger is like, why did this happen? Why did that person do it? It's outwards. But when you go deeper in your journey, you come to a place where it's actually, you realize anger is really about yourself, because one, you've allowed it to happen. And that's the main thing. People can tell you to do this, be that. I could have said, no, I'm not this person. I'm not going to do that. It's not me. But I value what people say, more than my own feelings, than my own thought. And I just changed myself. So the anger is really here. But it's really hard for us to, digest that, I'm really angry at myself. That's where the compassion, the self-forgiveness, self-acceptance come in.
Okay.
But to be honest, when I do my session, I never talk about that, because, it is a natural process. When you go on this journey, you will come to it. And sometimes I feel, and I may be wrong, which is fine, is that sometimes I feel the acceptance it's just on the surface. There's a deep level, the deep rooted one is still not processed. There has to be time and process to it. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think I want to know more about your own experience. So what you figured out, right? Which, like you said, you may share with your participants that you must face anger. Tell me your journey where you were trashing out, right? And then and then how do you realize that in the end you were angry with yourself?
I'm gonna try and titrate out. The reason why I'm struggling is also because, like, for me, I find that when I come into my body, my concept of time is a little bit different. Like, I can't remember things in a linear way. I can feel things. So sometimes, it's very hard for me to especially remember the past. And I have a tendency to not remember the past, because for me, I feel that remembering the past is very painful. But that also means that I'm not completely being honest with myself. So this is a process I have to go through. But maybe what I can share about the anger bit, and I'll be honest with you, the story is gonna get ugly. Okay, so you're ready for this?
If you're open. Yeah, because probably, like you mentioned, maybe you shook it all out, like you already forgotten about it. So are you willing to go back to
No, I'm more than happy to share. I think that's part of that kind of the process, to let people have a sense how the different variation, the different paths can take. So to kind of start off with, I think for me, for the longest time, I say when I was 18 was a pivotal year for me. But when I was younger, around the same period, I always had a problem with drinking. So for me, I have a very stimulating, seeking personality, which means I like drinks and stuff like that. And you see, the problem with, when I was younger, I didn't know how to regulate my emotion. And I use drinking as a way of regulating. And also because I've kind of, it's just my own experience, I find that people who are empaths, they tend to have addiction problems like alcohol, alcoholics, etc. Because what happens is we usually feel so much, we can't handle it, or if we don't learn how to handle it, we usually use substance to kind of numb our senses. So I was doing that at a subconscious which I didn't realize. So that's just kind of starting. But what was really interesting was happening was that whenever I used to drink, I would go into rage. So I shared before that I when I was younger, I didn't know how to regulate myself, and I did a lot of different ways to kind of regulate myself. Like when I'm angry, I would hit myself, that sort of stuff. So I used to say, when I'm sober, I hurt myself. When I'm drunk, I hurt other people. But what was really happening is I processed it. I was working with my partner. I was working with a therapist. Was that there was a lot of anger in me, and I feel like I couldn't control it. So my day personality, if you met me in the past, you would never think I was an angry person. Like I may be short-tempered, but you wouldn't get the sense I'm an angry person. It's also because of I've took on the society message that it's not okay to be angry. So that means whenever I drink, I told myself subconsciously it was an excuse to lose control, and I just let all hell broke loose, right? And the interesting thing was that this only happened, like I would get really, really drunk, and it only happened with certain individuals. So they tend to be people who are bigger and stronger, and they're usually male friends and not female friends. So that means that I wanted to be stopped. Subconsciously I wanted to be stopped. Just over that. And that whenever I got into those kind of rage mode, as I call it, I tended to want to like really hurt, like I would scratch and I would, what's that word? Choke people, strangle people. And I would always say the same thing, like, do you understand my pain? Do you understand my pain? And I never understood. I just thought I was this angry person, right? And then I realized many, many years later, after I processed it, was that, I was in so much pain back then. And I wanted people to understand me. And that was the only way I felt people could understand me. If I'm in so much pain, you can't get it. I'll make you feel pain so that you would understand it. It was really, really, really terrible, right? I mean, a lot of judgments, right? Ugly, angry stuff. But what was amazing, so that I had a few episodes of that. Not proud of it, but it is important because it made me part of who I am today. But the magical thing really happened when I started dancing by accident. I took a dance course because I wanted to teach dance in the future, and I just so happened, I just love dance. When I hear music, I'll just move. And when I did the course, I realized for the first time in my life, I felt that I finally spoke. For many years in my life, I can talk, but I can't make sounds. I had my voice shut down for so long that I just can't talk, right? But and I think that was 22. I was 22 years old when I found dance, and I was like, oh my god! For the first year in 22 years of my life, I finally spoke. And what was the most amazing thing? When I started dancing freeform, like, oh, well, I want to know my anger, my drunk rage stopped. I stopped going out of control. I stopped hurting people because now I had a way to regulate my anger, which was through dance. And of course, the early years of I've been dancing since 22, so I've been dancing for 8 years. The early years of my dance was just angry and storm and raw and this and that. So much rage, but you know what? It's like I needed to go through that, right? So it was so important because I felt it helped save my life. If I didn't dance, I don't know what I would do. I may end up in a place I don't even want to think about it. You know what I mean? So when I started dancing, my all that drunk rage and mode, what do you call it? The drunk rage mode kind of just went away. I was still drinking a lot, yes, but that rage thing went away. And in the first 2 years, I did a practice called 5 Rhythms. If you're interested, check them out. It's amazing. I just go and dance and whichever. And I realized every time I dance, like usually our dance session is 2 hours long for a normal class. By the time I'm finished dancing, I couldn't lift up my head like that because I so hard. My muscles are torn and everything. I remember the first time I danced, I was like slamming so much rage. My whole arm was black. You see this color? Imagine it's black color. Yeah, I was like so much stuff, and I needed to let it go, and it just kept coming out of me. And I've if you've gone through kind of like similar process, we call it catharsis. So I was going through a lot of that. But then after catharsis, the important thing is you need to make sense of what's happened. And because my personality, I'm very self-reflective, so I did a lot journal. There were many things that happened, so I kept writing. I kept working on myself. So the interesting for me was that I did all my kind of finding myself on the dance floor, literally. Like,
wow.
Tell me anything, but I probably can I'll try to remember like a memory where I process it, like past life thing, energetic thing, this and that. It's just all of that. So and it was crazy, and I just all I did, I just kept dancing and dancing and dancing. And that's all I did. And after I think first 2-3 years, there's still a lot of anger, and I realized that hey, wait a sec, I can't do this because my body is gonna break, and my body was being broken every time I dance. I need to practice this thing called self-care. I want to dance till like however old I am, so you better take care of self. So subsequently, all my dance are like regulating, just move, but you gotta take care of yourself. And what was really interesting was that, you said I started to regulate myself because I realized firstly my body couldn't take it. I was dancing too fast, too hard, and I was in pain all the time. And I had more sense in me by then, and most of the rage was processed out, right? That I see this wasn't working. But I think everyone's process is very different, and different people have different affinities towards different paths. But I always feel that the movement, the embodiment modality really support you no matter what path you're on, because primarily, firstly, we all have a body. And the thing about the body, that this path that I talk about and I walk on, is that, different modalities, you can have a teacher to guide you. But when you work with your body, you learn to tune into your own inner guide, your own inner intuition, or your higher self if you want. And so what you learn is that, this thing that people share is so good, does it really work for me? It may be good for that person, but it may not be good for me. But if you don't have the internal compass, you're just going to accept whatever people tell you. And we've heard a lot of horror stories about, teachers that have kind of gone not so well, right? So that's one thing. The other thing that I've kind of found on my journey is the more I listen to myself, some people call it the sixth sense, the inner intuition, the gut. Well, I just call it intuition. It's like the more you get access to that I don't know how to describe it. Things just flow in a different way. Like I was the point in my life that things were flowing so well that there was just a lot of things happening that it's just really, really magical. And again, I missed my point what I was trying to say, but
number one, do you think you're living a purposeful life? Like, like 1 to 10.
Right. Am I living a purposeful life? I think I'm gonna give myself a really, really low score. I'm gonna give myself a 3.
A 3. Okay,
yes.
Why?
Yes. The reason why I give myself, so I remember what I wanted to share. The thing I talk about, the process part 1, 2, and 3, and now I'm in a phase of like I want to shape my environment, and I want to do something about it. I don't want to blend in, I don't want to run away, but I want to actively shape my environment. And it took me many, many years to arrive to this point. And that point started for me in 2018, because that was the year that I started to work I was interning as a counselor. I was developing and running my own programs to support adults. And I was also doing like entrepreneurship, because I really believed in what I was like, whatever I went through and what I wanted to share. And I wanted to equip myself with it. And it was really tough. It was really, really tough. Before 2018, I am not ashamed to say this, but my life, I went through many, many things. And maybe my life wasn't as not what most people have gone through, but a lot of my time I was finishing my master's back then, but I also work a lot on myself. And the way that I spend a lot of time by myself, I just reflect and keep on thinking, right? And I got a lot of stuff. A lot of what I teach came from those years of self-reflection. But back then, the way that I lived life was very different. I would walk on the street and I'll look at trees and I'll be amazed by the magic in the trees. And I can tell you the stories that the trees are telling me. And I was just so connected. That was what I wanted to share. I became so connected in life that the things around me was evolving. And let's just say magic was happening. So 2018, and the reason why I only step up to say I'm going to do something about it now, because whatever I asked, the universe just gave me. Whatever I said, you want this to work, show me. It just gave it to me. And there was nothing more I could complain. I have done all my stuff. Everything is ready. I need to step out now. And plus, I wasn't living the real world, right? I wasn't out there managing conflicts with people. And 2018, I said, okay, I'm going to step out into the real world. And that's when it got really, really tough, because I was so used to a different world. I was used to a world where, we speak with the heart. We're connected with everything, the environment, the people, the drums, the music, the songs, the movement. And suddenly I come to people and say, I have something important to share. People tell me, why is this important? Give me a KPI. And I just tried so hard to talk, and I just felt I couldn't connect. And as I put myself out there, I went out to pitch to different people. I was going out and giving talks. I just kept feeling doors kept slamming in my face. And plus, my story, One Thing in this lifetime, a lot of the stories of the little girl that I'm not worth it, I don't belong, being rejected, they just kept coming up again and again. But I was able, and there was a lot of good stories and good stuff that happened from 2018 onwards. And I've received a lot, to be honest. I've done so much things. I've made so much connections. I have walked with people so deep on a journey. I felt it was worth it. That's what made me trip, in a way that I felt like I was able to walk with someone. But in the process, I felt I've given up a lot.
Can I clarify when you were 2018? What changed? What did you do that you?
There just came a point that was that I can't hide anymore. I can't pretend anymore. Like, everywhere I go, there were just messages that just telling me to be courageous, just go out and do it. You'll be fine. You'll be taken care of.
So what did you propose to others that you mentioned that you kept gonna get rejected? What was that thing that you were offering?
Oh, right. So I did that year. I did a entrepreneurship course. So I was learning to develop the business, because I wanted to do something. I wanted to pick up the skills where I can talk to people, essentially, right? And I wanted to do what I love and make a living out of it, kind of where we are right now. And so when I went out and pitched to different, I was doing a program on older adults. It's called Age-Wise. People, I think I was still passionate. I was just sharing about how much I think we can change. But I think I went to different people. I spoke to different people. And a lot of people just came back and told me, it's not very realistic. Or they tell me that, you got to be clear on your problem statement. And it's just a lot of different things, different combinations. And in those years, I shared with some of my closer friends that I just felt the passion driven out of me. In the past, whenever I meet, I have just such a zealous for life. I can't even begin to describe. Life is like my first lover. If I meet someone interesting, I just go out and talk to the person. That's who I was. There's no fear, no nothing. But as I went on and on, I just felt the passion living me. Every time I had a chance, I would share about something I believe in, or if there's an opportunity. But more and more, I just don't feel that anymore. I just feel like in my life, well, not life, but society drove the passion out of me. It's like trying to shape me back in, and I really struggle. I really, really struggle. So the reason why I gave myself such a low score is because everything I've been doing since 2018 to 2020 now is confronting some of my worst fears. You think you work on something, you just go on default, and it just more and more stuff get revealed. So I've come to a bit, if this makes sense, I've come to the bit where the trauma I had as a girl were kind of unprocessed. The fearful I can do it or whatever. And it's really, really tough, because when things get tough for me, I just throw out my hand and make a show attention and say, no, it's not fair. I don't care. You do this and I'll do that. I just will not do it. Or the worst thing, which I share a lot with my partner, is why must I be the one to do it? Why must I be the understanding one? Why can't people, this and that? I just refuse to budge. And so my worst fears are being kind of thrown out right now. And it's been really, really tough. But I've been making little progress, especially in my workplace. So I learned to stand up for things. Even though, people may, you're kind of like a sacrificial lamb if you speak out about certain things. I just don't care. But it is a process. So am I living a purposeful life? No, not yet. But I'm definitely doing what I want. That's all I can say. Because my idea of purpose is a bit different. I would love to be in nature all day and sing song all day and dance all day. But that's not quite realistic. So I'm doing what I can. But I'm trying to find the middle ground. That's always how I felt like. I'm not quite a physical, materialistic person. I'm not quite a spiritual person. I don't see fairies and dragons. But I can move between both worlds. And I'm like a guide. A lot of people have actually transited them from physical to spiritual. That's kind of my role. And I'm also a catalyst. That's kind of what I'm here to do. So the other thing about embodiment is the more you come into your body, you know who you are, you know what you're here to do. So I got that as a consequence. The question is, am I ready for it? Am I willing to? I'm all in. Yeah. So that is a process, still a process.
Right now, I hear that your ideal purposeful life is that completely free in nature, dance all day. But right now you're still trying to figure out what is that achievable and balanced, purposeful life. I mean, right now, like you said, you're confronting your inner insecurities.
Absolutely.
I think it's a very courageous thing to do. Like you keep going and trying to confront it, because when you go deeper, you realize there's some more things there. Yeah.
Actually, after I hear you put it into words, I think what is making sense to me is, I am living my purposeful life right now. I'm doing the things that I want to do, confronting. But a part of me always tell me that I could have done better. The previous life that I talked about before, that, being in nature, that is my ideal self. And I went through a process recently where I forgot what happened, but I just told myself that my little girl is no more. That was the little girl stage where I did what I wanted. But, right now the woman is stepping in, and the reason why this 2 years I've been struggling through this and that was because I'm learning a lot of my focus right now is about manifestation. It's about bringing into reality a physical form, and it's been really, really tough because it's something I've never done before. And honestly, and a part of me does still have that little girl. She wants to run away. She just want to be in space where she doesn't have to be confronted. She doesn't have to face angry people. She doesn't have to be vulnerable and, throw her heart out. But after I hear what you said, I take back what I said. I am living my purposeful life. This is what I want. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to stand up. I just need to work. Let me think about how I want to say it. I want to have more love and acceptance of who I am, because I'm constantly judging myself. When I bring myself, a part of me out there, my past experiences tell me this emotional person is not accepted. This free and movie person is not accepted. And it just kept coming. But I just want to bring all of me out there and not be afraid of it. And I'm doing it a little bit at a time. And I think that's fine. I'm okay with it. And it's really, really tough. But I think I wouldn't want to do any different. I can make a choice today to run away, absolutely. But I know in me, at a certain point, I wouldn't be happy because that's not who I am. We are all creators by our own right. And this is what I'm here to create. I don't need a bit more love for myself, a bit more acceptance, right? So yeah, I just want to say thank you for rephrasing that. It just makes sense to me right now. It made more sense to me.
So that was why I wanted to reflect upon you. Like, when you gave a 2 upon 10, I was pretty surprised, because even though you said your inner child is no longer with you, like I could feel like she is talking. She's right in front of me talking about the passion, how the world should be a better place, because of your what you believe in, right? There shouldn't be a place where people should be angry, people need to run away, but a place filled with love. And when you mentioned about you want to have more love and acceptance for who you are, that really gave me goosebumps. And you mentioned, right, like you said, you are someone who, you mentioned about manifestation and the catalyst. And you mentioned about advocate championing for something, and that requires courage, and it's a 打不死的蟑螂, like you keep confronted, and you keep coming up and keep coming up. So that's the sense I get about what you have described so far.
Actually, I think I find it really funny you use the 打不死的蟑螂 phrase, but after I hear it, I think I want to be that 蟑螂. You're not gonna scare me away. And I just want to be that, because I know that what I speak is the voice that everyone is speaking with. It's just that, we can't hear it anymore. But I just let their voices or judgment become bigger than who I am. And if all I have to do is just quiet down and come back to myself, like what we did in the start of the session, it's so much easier. It's so much easier. And that's what I'm feeling too.
Thanks so much for such a personal sharing. I want to, I look at the time, we're almost at the hour. Was there anything that you wished I would have asked you?
Is there anything you wanted to ask me still? Nothing comes to mind for me at the moment.
Great. Okay. So to close this off, is there one key message to the listeners and audience who's watching today?
I feel like I'm trying to find the words to describe like what I want to express, and I'm gonna try and find the word. So I'm gonna do this with my eyes closed. I think what I want to say is that, I've traveled many places and gone through many things and done many things to try and find home. But I felt home was when I really learned to sit with myself. For a larger part of my earlier life, I was always trying to seek something, find something, constantly finding something. But I stopped seeking when I learned to just pause and be with myself. And I'm not gonna say it's like a magic pill that would happen overnight. It's a lot of crying, a lot of stamping, a lot of But when I found home and came into my body and I really felt alive, it's like a no turning back. If we've always restricted ourselves and prevented ourselves from expressing, we can pass by day, but it's not gonna last. But when I open myself out and feel like the emotions, sadness, the anger, it was really, really painful, but I was alive. So yeah, that's long, but home is, kind of where you learn to sit with yourself. So celebrate your body.
It was really beautiful. Thanks for listening to Awakening Dreams with Raw. If you like our show, please follow our Facebook, Instagram at Relating Authentic World, or subscribe on the major podcast platform. Join us again as we speak with more inspiring women about their journey towards awakening dreams. Stay curious, be alive. Thank you, Wan Ting.
Yay!
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks so much.